Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamika Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we're going to be doing something really special. I'm going to be showing you my favorite, ultimate favorite, really easy homemade donut recipe. So if in the morning you are craving Krispy Kreme, hold back because I have the most amazing, most delicious homemade donut recipe, and it's really easy. I'm talking like 15 minutes or less. So right now I'm going to be going over with you the ingredients. So this is the main ingredients. Most of these ingredients, if you are any type of cook or baker, or even like don't really bake or cook that much, you should have these ingredients in your home. So it's literally just salt, vanilla extract, baking powder, sugar, flour, 1 egg, milk, and melted butter. And I'm going to be showing you today a really easy glaze for your donuts. They can be put on any type of donuts that you're making. It's just 2 ingredients, 3 if you want to include the vanilla extract. It's powdered sugar and milk. Whisk it up. That's actually going to be the glaze for your donuts. You can add sprinkles to them. If you want a little bit of vanilla extract in there, you can add that in there as well. I'm going to be showing you that today. So the first thing we need to do is to get out a bowl. So you're just going to grab a large bowl that looks like this. Now you do not need a special hand mixer or stand mixer for this. All of this can be done by hand. So it's 1 cup of flour. I always tend to use the unbleached flour, but you can use a bleached flour if you would like. So it's 1 cup all-purpose flour, and then we have 1/3 cup of the granulated sugar, and we have 1 teaspoon of baking powder. All right, the oven's ready. So 1 teaspoon baking powder. So I have my 1 teaspoon here. I like to do and level mine. I just use a butter knife and I just level off my measuring spoons and cups. So 1 teaspoon baking powder. Okay, then we are gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I use the Morton salt in a big container like this for all of my baking. So a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted. So I actually have that going on over here on the stove. So we have the melted butter here. There's 2 tablespoons in this, so I'm just gonna dump. So we have the melted butter in with the dried ingredients. I like to just mix it around. And you'll get almost like a crumb texture that looks like this. Little peas, like pea-sized crumbs in there. All right, so once you have another small bowl, so you have your dry ingredients and butter in 1 bowl, and then a smaller bowl, you wanna add your milk and your egg. So 1 egg. All right, so you have 1 egg, and then you're gonna do about 1/3 cup milk. Now I use a whole milk, and I tend to always use a whole milk when I am baking. And you wanna do 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract in there. These are considered a vanilla baked donut, so hence why I'm adding in the vanilla extract. Then you want to get a small spatula. You want to whisk this up. All right. So the next thing you want to do is you want to add your wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. And you want to whisk this up until essentially there is no flour still showing. So you want to get a really nice smooth texture. And you can see it's pretty wet. It's pretty wet dough. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how I quickly fill my donut pans. Now, if you do not have a pastry bag, you can even use a Ziploc bag and just cut the corner of a Ziploc bag. I have pastry bags. So I'm gonna show you very quickly how I do this here at home. So with your pastry bag, you wanna kind of turn it inside out like this. So you have a little tip down here at the bottom. You have a nice little hole where you're gonna put all your dough. I grab mine from underneath like this, and I just start filling it with my dough mixture. Now, I have pretty large pastry bags, so it just looks like this. And you want to stuff as much as you can into your pocket. And this can get pretty messy. I just learned how to actually use pastry bags like the beginning of this year, so they're still pretty new to me. The first time I made these donuts, I actually used just a Ziploc bag, and that works as well. Or you can just spoon them into your tray as well. Just using a pastry bag or a Ziploc bag just makes things a little bit more even in your donut pans. All right, so when that's full like this, you want to flip it back up so it looks like this in your pastry bag. And now this is how I do it. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but you grab it really tight and you just squeeze it down into your pastry bag. All right, so it looks like this. And you go as far as it's gonna go down. And you want to take a pair of scissors and you just want to cut the bottom that looks like this. So now it's all going to go down. Now these are really small donut bins or trays. So you want to try to fill these about 3/4 of the way full. You don't want to get it all the way to the top. What's going to happen, it's going to bake, it's going to get really big, and you're going to lose that iconic hole in the middle of your donut. So for me, I do one round, and these are sprayed with butter or sprayed with baking spray, so you really don't want to fill them too much, just enough to line the bottom. I don't know if I'm going to have enough to make all 12, but should make about 12 donuts. And don't worry if it's a little uneven, the dough or batter will even out as you go along. All right, so now that you have your donuts in your donut tray, you want to stick them in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now what I've learned with donuts is they bake really fast. So it would be my suggestion to you, I always check my donuts around the 7-minute mark to see the type of browning that they're getting, but usually they're done around 8 to 10 minutes. All right, while your donuts are in the oven, now it's time to prepare your glaze. So the glaze I use for any donut that I make, whether it be wheat donuts or carrot donuts, whatever it may be, I use the same glaze. The great thing about this glaze is it's just powdered sugar, milk, and you can add a tad bit of vanilla extract if you want to. I don't usually, but it's white-based glaze, which means you can add food coloring to it if you want to do hot pink donuts or blue donuts or whatever you may want. Today we're just going to keep it a simple white. I'm actually going to be topping them off with some sprinkles, some colored sprinkles. So with your glaze, there's really no measurements involved. It all has to do with consistency. How thin or thick do you want your glaze? I like a pretty thick glaze because I like it to be very noticeable on the top of my donut. So everything is by eye. And what I mean by that, you want to do it in very small levels of ingredients. So you get your powdered sugar. I start with about a spoonful. I take my whole milk and I add just a tad bit of milk. And I see what kind of consistency that gives you. Now, the more powdered sugar you add, the thicker your glaze is going to be. Now, as you can see, this is a very thin glaze. And you want to mix it up pretty good. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to continue to add in powdered sugar until I get the glaze consistency that I want. And this is great glaze too. If you get it really thick, you can just put a very small amount on the top of your donuts. You don't need to add a lot if you don't want a lot of sugar on the top of your donuts. But we all know, I usually make these donuts for my son and he loves a really good thick glaze. That's about the glaze that I want. Alrighty, so I'm gonna set that aside. You can even stick it in the fridge to harden up a little bit, but my donuts are about to come out, but that's the glaze consistency I want. My cooling rack, I use a 2-part system. This is just a baking sheet, and I have a rack that goes over the top of it like this. Because we will be glazing the donuts, you want to have some type of baking sheet or something underneath your cooling rack because you don't want glaze getting all over your counters. Just makes cleanup a lot easier. You can just throw this in the dishwasher. So now I have that rack ready. And as you can see, my glaze has thickened up really nicely. So that's what we're going to be dipping our donuts in. All right, I'm going to pull these out. Just gonna give these a little touch. I'm gonna give them actually another minute. You wanna make sure the inside of the donut is cooked. So we're going on to the 10-minute mark. And sometimes that's how it is, depending on your oven, depending on the consistency of your dough batter for your donuts. That's all, and how wet your dough is, your batter is. It all is gonna play into whether it's 8 minutes when they're done or 10 minutes done. But for me, I always check to see if my donuts are done when I press lightly on the top, if they spring back. If you touch your donut on the top and it keeps the indentation on the top, then it's not quite ready to come out. That's how I test it. I don't know if that's really how it works, but it usually works for me. So we're gonna give this just a couple more minutes. And because we sprayed the donut pan beforehand, these should pop off really nicely from the pan. Okay, so we're gonna pull these out. Just put them on your cooling rack. So I give them, see how they spring back when I touch them? They're not keeping any type of, yeah, those are about done. So you can see they still have the holes in the center of your donuts. You'll know if you overfilled your trays if this hole can't be seen. And I have done that many times. They still taste good. So I'm just gonna pop these out. Now, your donuts, you want to make sure that you let these cool absolutely completely all the way through before you try to put any type of glaze, because what's gonna happen is your glaze just is gonna run off. So now we're gonna let these cool completely. All right, so the donuts have completely, you don't get no donuts, Toby. You don't get no donuts, no. All right, so the donuts have completely cooled, and now we're gonna start dipping. So this is how I dip my donuts. I take my donut, and I literally just bloop, plop it in. Let it sit, let it run. And that is my glazed donut. And before the glaze, and your hole will eventually come back. But me and my son, we always like to make sprinkled donuts or there you go. And then so I just dip my next one. And you would do that for each one. So that is my easy homemade donut recipe. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe.